Welcome, everyone, to the 2025 Globe International Virtual Science Symposium webinar on how to submit an IVSS project. Thank you for joining us this morning. You can feel free to type questions in the chat as I go, and this meeting will be posted on the IVSS page um, later today. And I'll just ask that everybody stays muted while we go. And then at the end, during the question period, we'll have some time to unmute and ask questions. All right, so we are really excited this year. The 2025 IVSS is celebrating Globe's 30th anniversary. And the theme of the International Virtual Science Symposium this year is 30 Years of Globe, Understanding the Past, Present, and Future. And this is also the theme of our campaign this year, the 30 Years of Globe campaign. I've got our beautiful logo here on the left, comparing data past and present. And really, we're celebrating the Globe community's effort of submitting over 250 million data points to the Globe database over the past 30 years. So with this year's theme, we've encouraged students to use data from the Globe database, and we've got a lot of resources that I'll share with you towards the end that might be helpful if you're getting started on a IVSS project. But we're encouraging students to use some of the past Globe data as part of their research this year, along with any newly collected data that you are gathering. So we're really excited to see how students incorporate Globe data, the analysis of Globe data from the database into their IVSS projects. Not a requirement, but highly encouraged this year. And I've got our featured data scientist badge shown here on the screen too. So the timeline for the International Virtual Science Symposium this year is shown on this screen. This is actually our last official IVSS webinar for the year for 2025. We are currently accepting projects. So the project submission window opened on December 5th and will close on the 5th of March. So all IVSS projects must be submitted by March 5th. And then we will have a webinar for our judges. If you are interested in judging, we are still accepting volunteers through the end of January. So you've got another couple weeks to sign up, and I'll show you where you can access that sign up on the website. And then all of our projects will be judged, and our judges will provide feedback at the beginning of April and end of March. And we'll send feedback to students on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. And it's also Globe's 30th anniversary. So we're really excited to celebrate all of our IVSS students on Earth Day by sending you great feedback on your work. So it's coming up. Along with other resources that I will share with you, the 2025 webinar recordings that we've had for this IVSS are all posted on the YouTube playlist, the IVSS YouTube playlist. So if you have missed a webinar, or if there are any questions that we don't address in this webinar, we've got a lot of information on our website and on our webinars. So we had a kickoff webinar in September where we shared some general IVSS information. We have various webinars to help access data from the Globe database and show you kind of some ways to access data for research questions and things like that. So please visit the IVSS webpage and webinar listing on the YouTube page. I'll put all of this can be accessed from the IVSS page, which I just put a link to in the chat. But we have a wealth of resources there for you if you're just getting started with your project or are in, the data analysis or writing phase. We have a lot of resources to support you. And so before we get into the nuts and bolts of how to submit your project, I do just want to remind you of the project requirements. So in order to be considered for the judging process, We have five basic elements that need to be included within your project. So uh, first, all projects must include globe data. So that's either data that you're collecting in your local environment or data that you're accessing from the globe database. So your research project needs to include globe protocols or globe data. And then in your report, in students' reports, we need to see an abstract and or summary of the report, a written research report, and within that written research report, you can apply for various badges. And we would like to see an explanation for how how each team worked through or worked towards each badge within their research projects. So the explanations for the badges can be included within that research report. Oftentimes students do that at the end of the report. And then you'll also need to include a presentation. So the presentation needs to be distinct or different from the research report. And so the presentation can be a video of you talking us through your presentation. It might be a screen recording of you walking through a presentation. It could be a poster presentation. It could be a story map. So there are a lot of different options for how you present your science to us. And I'll share with you towards the end some resources that we have to help you with your presentations. And then finally, if there are any photos of people in your report or your presentation, we need to have a signed photo release form for each person appearing in a photo. So that's something really important to include. Otherwise, we cannot publish your report on the Globe website. So, with that in mind, I am going to first walk you through how to submit a 2025 IVSS project, and then I'll share with you some resources that we have available on our website. So, to access the project submission tool, you'll need to visit the IVSS webpage, which I put a link to in the chat. You can also access it from this QR code here. And on the IVSS webpage, you'll see a little button that says upload a research report. And then underneath there's a hyperlink that says edit my reports and that's for after you submit your IVSS project if you need to go in and make any updates. So to access the upload tool here, you must be logged in to your globe.gov account. So I do want to point that out. So you need to either be logged in as a Globe educator or a citizen scientist. So if you are a student, you'll need to get some support from your teacher or another mentor, perhaps, to help submit your IVSS project. Once you are in the project upload tool, so once you click that little blue button, another pop-up will appear. And this is where you'll go through and enter information about your IVSS report. So first, it's important to note that by submitting your IVSS project, you are agreeing to share information on the form and in your report on the Globe website. Um, so please make a note of that. And then I also want to point out that on the project submission tool, you'll see a lot of little black question marks like this arrow here is pointing at. So these little question marks at each section, if you put your mouse over them, some text will appear to help explain what each field is. So I just want to make a note that if you click on that little question mark icon, you'll get more information about each section. Okay, so the first thing you'll want to do is if you're accessing the report upload tool from the IVSS page, the International Virtual Science Symposium report will automatically be checked. So if you're accessing a student research report upload tool from somewhere else, you'll just want to make sure that this is checked. And if you would like to submit your report to any other projects like the Mission Mosquito or the U.S. Student Research Symposia, you can also check those boxes. And then the next thing you'll do is select the school and educators that are part of this report. So this should automatically populate for the educators as you click add. So this, if you're logged into your account, this will already be tied to your, it should already be tied to your school or organization. The next thing you'll want to enter is the names of all students who contributed to this project. So here you can just list out every student's name that was part of the project, and then also list the total number of students involved in the project. Additional contributors is the next field. So you'll want to enter the names and organizations of anyone that's not the primary teacher supporting the report or primary mentor. So for example, if you worked with a STEM professional or scientists or other educators, you can add those additional contributors to this field right here. And then um, the next thing is the grade level. So this is a drop down. So you'll select the grade that the students who wrote the report are in. The next fields can come directly from your written report. So you'll copy in your report title. And I'll show you how all of this information appears on our website when we publish the report. But you can copy your report title from your report, and then the abstract or summary from your research report. So this is a required element of your project report, so you can copy and paste it directly into this field. There's not a character or word limit for the abstract or summary. The next thing is a short description of your report. This field is limited to 500 characters or less, and I'll show you why in just a moment. This appears in our student research reports database. So it's just really a short summary that someone can read as they're looking through reports to prompt them to click on your report listing to read more. So 500 characters or less. And we accept reports in several different languages. So please feel free to write your report in your first language. But if it's possible, if there's room, if you can include a translation here, an English translation, that's great. If not, that's fine too. And then finally here, the report submission date. The next thing you'll need to select on the project upload tool are all of the GLOBE protocols you used in the project. So for this field, if you click on the little plus arrows on the right side of the project submission window, you'll see a full drop-down list of all of the GLOBE protocols. So you'll want to select all of the GLOBE protocols you used on your report, and then you will upload your research report. So the files that are accepted for your research report are a PDF file, a Word document, or a text file. So when you click this blue select button here to upload your research report, you'll find that file on your computer and upload it directly to the report tool. And then another thing that you'll want to include, this is optional, but I recommend it. It just adds a little bit more personalization to your report, is a report cover image. So for this, you can include a JPEG or PNG image to display with your report. I do want to point out that there is a size requirement here. So that image needs to be at least 625 by 350 pixels. When you upload the image, it will tell you if the size needs to be adjusted. And we've got some tips here for resizing images. If you have any problems at all in getting your image to the right size, please feel free to email us and we can help you with resizing it, because it can be a little bit tricky if you have an image that's a square, for example, because these dimensions are more rectangular. So please feel free to reach out. I will share the email address at the end. but I'm happy to help you resize that image if you would like. And then you will also select the language that the report is written in. Oops, sorry about that. The languages that appear here are we will have judges who can provide feedback in these languages. So English, Spanish, French, Arabic, Croatian, Thai, and Portuguese. If you some students like to translate their report. So if it's written in Spanish, they might also include an English translation. So if your report is in multiple languages, feel free to select more than one here. And then if your report is not in any of these languages, you can select other and enter in the language that your report is written in, and we'll try to find, we can do our best to see if we have judges who speak other languages. And we very well may have judges who can provide feedback in other languages. And I will say that we'll do our best to make sure the judges who score your projects um, speak the first language that the report is written in. And so after you upload your research report, there's a field for you to upload your presentation. And I do want to point out that all of these little yellow starred areas are required things that you have to upload. So for the presentation, you have a couple different options. You can include a link to a video or a link to an ArcGIS story map. Um, so a lot of students like to record their presentations and put them in YouTube, and they share the YouTube link. That's great. It's just any URL link that you share here needs to have the settings set so that anyone can view the project, so that our judges all have access to your presentations. Another option for the presentation is a poster presentation. So if you don't have a link to a video or another URL, that's just fine. You can upload a file here as well. So the poster presentations, we accept PDF or PowerPoint files, and we do have some templates available. If you haven't yet started your poster presentation, I'll show you where those templates are as well. And then finally here on the screen, you will need to upload media release forms. So here we've got a couple different options. If there are no images of students or adults in the IVSS report, you can click this first box here and you don't need to upload anything. If there are any photos of people's faces, so if we can recognize a person in an image, we need to have a photo release form for each person who is in a photo. So for that, please click the media release forms are included, and then an additional file upload box will show up for you to upload your media release forms. So you can access those media release forms directly from the project submission tool. They're also included as a link on the project requirements page, which I'll show you in just a minute. And then the last thing that you'll select are the badges that you are applying for with your project. The badges are optional. So all students will earn the student research badge. And the student research badge has the number of stars each project earned. So all projects that are scored will earn that research badge. And then you have the option to apply for up to 3 badges. So if you put your mouse, again, if you hover over these little question marks or click on them, the information for each badge will pop up. And I do want to point out that the I Am a Data Scientist badge is the featured badge for this year's IVSS theme. Students must select this badge and earn this badge in order to qualify for entry into the stipend drawing. So please note that if you're interested in potentially earning the stipend or attending the annual meeting this year, you'll want to select the data scientist badge there. The email address to reach out to if you have any problems at all is listed here in the project submission tool. So if you need anything at all, please feel free to email us at this site and we'll respond as quickly as possible to help make sure your project gets submitted. And then after you submit your report, you will get an email notification letting you know that your project submission went through. So please check to make sure you get that email. If you don't get the email, you can either email us and I can check to make sure it was submitted. Sometimes there are bandwidth or Wi-Fi issues that prevent the project from fully uploading. So you'll want to make sure that you get that email. After you've submitted your report, before it's published on the website, you do have an opportunity to click on the Edit My Reports link if you need to include any additional information. So for example, if you submit your report but forget to include the media release forms, you can always go back in to edit your reports and update that information, or you can re-upload a project, a report or presentation. So this link you should be able to access before the report is published on the website. If you need to make any changes after the report is published to the website, you can email ivss@nasaglobe.org and I can help you make the changes that you need. So I wanted to point out where some of the information that you are entering in the project submission tool shows up on our website. So once your project is published on the globe.gov website, it appears in our student research reports database. So here's an example of one of our IVSS projects that's been submitted for this year. It has been published on our website. So this is how the report cover image shows up on this records listing page with all of the other reports. So it's kind of neat to see a lot of students make their own badges or their own graphics. So that's where that cover image shows up. The short description of the report that I mentioned that has a 500 character limit, that shows up right here underneath your report title. So you want to make that short, you want to make it concise, and to really give people just an idea of what your project is about, to encourage them to want to read more. So by clicking on the title of your report, it will bring up your report listing page, which looks like this. So, and Cassie is in the room. Thanks, Cassie, for being a great example here and mentoring this student project. So when each published report has their own report listing page. And this is also one way that the judges can access your report, and really anyone who visits the globe.gov website can view your report. So this is how all of the information that you're submitting in that project upload tool appears on your report listing page. So we've got the country, the organization, the student names listed here, the grade level, additional contributors, the protocols that were used in the report. And then here's where we can access your project's presentation. So this particular project has both a video and a poster presentation. And then your research report is also linked to this page, followed by the full abstract. So I encourage you, if you haven't explored some of our reports, I've got the QR code for our student research reports listing page here. You can go and see examples of what's been submitted so far for this year, and you can view all of the reports in our database. And then I've got the pathway here to get to this page from the globe.gov homepage. Lots of great examples of really interesting student work. So the The next thing I want to point out is some of the resources that we have available. All of these are accessed from the International Virtual Science Symposium webpage. I'm going to once again put the link to this webpage in the chat. And so from here, over on the left side of the screen, you'll see a lot of additional links. And I'm going to walk you through some of the information that's included in these links. So the first thing are the report requirements. So I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, but if you go to the report requirements page, it will provide a little bit more detail about what is required for an IVSS project to be published on the website and go to the judging phase. So a written report, which includes a title and abstract, and the written report must also include at least these 5 sections, which are described in more detail on the website. The next thing are badge descriptions. So if you are interested in earning some of those optional badges, which I highly encourage all students to apply for additional badges to showcase how, the science practices that you engaged with while working on your report. Those badge descriptions are also a requirement. And I'm pointing out again the I am a data scientist badge and at least one additional badge, along with a 4-star rating on your report, are required to be eligible for the stipend drawing this year. The presentation and report cover image and photo release form. So those are the report requirements again. We have the badges page has an image and description of each of our badges. So I pointed out that all students whose projects are judged will earn the I am a student researcher badge. So that looks like this. And you can see this one has 1 star on it. So these badges, the student researcher badges have 1 to 4 stars on it. And that shows your overall rating from the judge's evaluation of your project. And then you'll see a listing of all of the other badges, but I'm showing the I am a data scientist badge here. It also on the badges page lists kind of the required components for earning this badge. So if you are interested in the data scientist badge or any of the other badges, I encourage you to take a look at our badges page for more information and think about how if you're a student, how your work on the project with your teammates might qualify for some of these badges. And for the I am a data scientist badge, I thought it might be helpful just to give you a little bit more information there. So for that badge in particular, our highlighted badge for this year, reports must include analysis of data downloaded from the Globe website. Including organizing your data. So we want to see that data tables are organized and properly labeled and show the data that's retrieved from the Globe database. If you do have a lot of data that you've downloaded from the database, you can include that at the end of your report, all of that raw data, and you can label that as an appendix for review. The data analysis component, so we would like to see graphs that are properly labeled and appropriate for the data collected, and any statistical or mathematical analysis clearly communicated and described within your report. And then finally, with regards to your data, discussion of the data in your analysis and conclusions. So all of the data analysis that's described should, and the claims that are made in the report should reference the data. And we also encourage you to compare your results with what you might have expected the results to be or any published results. And again, all of this information is on the badges page. And if you're interested in seeing a project from last year that earned the I am a data scientist badge, I've got a great example here of a project from some students in Bhutan. You can scan the QR code to access this project, or you can also access it from the stipend recipients page. This was a stipend recipient from last year. So, oops. Sorry about that. So this project included all of the required elements. They showed our data tables with their globe data. They provided a pretty thorough analysis of their data and properly labeled their graphs. And they also explained their badges. So over here on the left, you can see how they described how their project worked towards that I am a data scientist badge. Some other resources we have available to you are rubrics by grade level. So if you're curious how the projects are judged, you can go to this link. We've got some very general rubrics by grade level with additional details below each rubric on which project element should include. So if you are currently working on writing your report, I really encourage you to visit this page so you can make sure that you're including all of the elements as and are aware what the judges are looking for as they're scoring and providing feedback on your project. Here is an example of the rubric for the um, 9 through 16 grade level, or the ages 14 through 18. So your project will be scored on 1 to 4 stars. So a 4-star project is a really exceptional project. The report is well organized, neat, and well presented. The writing is clear and concise. The report contains all of the 5 elements required for judging, and those are all listed out on this page as well. And the ability to draw insightful conclusions. So you can see the difference between a 4-star project and a 3-star project. So a 3-star project is a really good project. It contains all of the elements that are required, but it could maybe use a little bit more explanation, more details, more links to the data that's connected to, or to the data that's collected or analyzed. Um, so please visit this page. We've got a general rubric listed for each of the grade levels. And then this is just a little bit more information that's shown on that page beneath the rubric. So we really list out some tips for how you can really develop each section of your report. And the different starred sections are the required sections for each grade level. In the student resources section, we've got a variety of resources for you. The first one is the Globe Data Challenge. So this one is really geared towards helping students earn the I Am a Data Scientist badge, where there's a walkthrough of how to retrieve data from the Globe database. Um, so there's 2 different resources there as examples of using Globe data from the database. We also have resources for starting a research report and also to help you to write your research report. So we've got some templates here by grade level for different research reports. So those are PDF documents. So it'll just, if you haven't started writing, or if you are writing your research report, this will just kind of show you an example of a structure to get you started. And then we've also got some other documents linked here to help you develop your research report or research project. We also have resources to help you prepare a presentation. So I mentioned the files that are accepted for the poster presentations are a PowerPoint or a PDF. We have 2 examples of templates on our student resources page here. We also have some other examples of different, more kind of creative poster examples that you might want to take a look at. And then a link to ArcGIS story maps. So story maps are a great way to digitally communicate the science of your research project to others. Students can get a free account here, or educators can get a free account. So if you're interested in a more creative format, you can link to maps and all kinds of things I highly recommend exploring the ArcGIS story maps. All right. And one thing I didn't mention on the detailed listings here, though, we also have webinars that will help you with your project. So on our student resources page, if you're looking for other ideas for data analysis, please check out the webinars section. All right, so just some important reminders before we wrap up here. I mentioned the photo release forms. Those are required for everyone who appears in a photo or video. The last day to submit IVSS projects is March 5th. So please submit, and if you need to make any changes to your project, March 5th is the last date to do that. We will have our stipend drawing in April and announce the winners of or not the winners, but the recipients of the stipend drawing in the Globe Earth Day broadcast. And then just a couple reminders here about what's required for the stipend drawing. So to qualify, students must earn a 4-star rubric rating, and that's an average of 3 judges' scores. This year, we're also asking that students earn the I Am a Data Scientist badge and 1 additional badge. Stipend recipients will be invited to the 2025 Globe Annual Meeting Student Research Experience, where they have the opportunity to present their research to adults and other community members and engage in Globe fieldwork and field trips with other Globe students from around the world. And so the stipend funds can be used to offset the cost of attending that student research experience. This year, the Globe annual meeting, will be held in the Washington, D.C. area in July. So if you're interested in potentially, being selected as a stipend recipient, make sure you apply for the data scientist badge. And for stipend recipients for last year, I've got all of our projects listed. You can also see these reports from the stipend recipients page. But we select one project from each globe region. So we've got 6 globe regions. This year we will be selecting one project from each of those regions. And we've got some really great examples of student research here. So I encourage you to take a look at what globe students around the world are researching and learning about in their local environments. Again, our timeline for the IVSS, the project's submission window closes on March 5th, and we'll be wrapping everything up by Earth Day this year. And please visit the IVSS page to learn more and access all of those resources that I kind of highlighted and the webinar recordings. And I believe this is my last slide. Yep. So I'll leave this up in case you want to take a picture of the QR code or get the website listing there. And I don't see any questions in the chat, but I am happy to take questions if anyone has any questions.